The divorce papers hit the kitchen table at exactly 7 in the morning, right next to the pregnancy test Diane had planned to show him that night. "Sign them," Kevin said, not even looking at her. "My lawyer says we can be done in 30 days. Diane stared at the papers, then at the man she had loved for 6 years. The man who used to hold her hand during movies. The man who promised her forever. And now he stood in their kitchen, packed bags by the door, telling her their marriage was over. "Kevin, I need to tell you something." "I don't have time," he cut her off. "Christine is waiting in the car. We have a flight to catch." Christine, his new boss, the CEO of Sterling Global, the woman who had offered Kevin the deal of a lifetime, a contract worth $10 million if he relocated to Singapore immediately. No wife, no baggage, just him. If you want to see how this story ends, hit that subscribe button right now. Drop a like and tell me in the comments where you're watching from, because what happens next will blow your mind. Diane felt the room spin. "You're leaving me for a job?" "It's not just a job, Diane. It's my future. Our future." He paused. "Well, my future now. But Save it," Kevin said, grabbing his bags. "You'll be fine. The apartment's paid through the end of the month. After that, you're on your own." He walked out, just like that. 6 years gone in 6 minutes. Diane stood there, hand on her stomach, tears streaming down her face. She was 8 weeks pregnant, and the father of her baby had just walked out the door without a second thought. That was the day Diane's old life ended. But it was also the day her new life began, because Kevin made one huge mistake. He underestimated her. 3 years earlier, before Kevin, before the marriage, Diane had been someone else. She had been Diana Hunt, the youngest investment analyst at Morgan Ridge Capital. She had been brilliant, ruthless, on track to make partner before 30. But then she met Kevin at a friend's wedding. He was charming, kind. He made her laugh. He made her feel like maybe there was more to life than boardrooms and spreadsheets. So she quit. She walked away from her career to support his dream of starting his own consulting firm. She became his assistant, his bookkeeper, his cheerleader. She poured everything into helping him build something from nothing. And it worked. Within 3 years, Kevin's firm was thriving. He had clients, contracts, money. And that's when Christine noticed him. Christine Sterling, ice cold, calculating, the kind of woman who saw people as assets or liabilities. She saw Kevin's potential and made him an offer. $10 million over 3 years. Full relocation package. Penthouse in Singapore. But there was one condition buried in the fine print, a clause Kevin didn't tell Diane about until the morning he left. The contract required him to be unencumbered by personal commitments that could interfere with job performance. Translation, no wife. Kevin chose the money. He chose Christine. He chose to walk away from the woman who built him. But here's what Kevin didn't know. Here's what Christine didn't know. Diane wasn't just a housewife. She wasn't just the woman behind the man. She was the woman who had saved every email, every document, every piece of evidence showing that Kevin's success wasn't his alone. It was theirs. She had co-signed every loan. She had invested her own savings. She had worked 80-hour weeks while he took credit. And she had receipts. The first month after Kevin left was the hardest. Diane cried every night. She threw up every morning, partly from the pregnancy, partly from the heartbreak. She had no job, no income, and a baby on the way. Her friends told her to move on, to let it go, to accept that Kevin had won. But Diane wasn't built that way. She had spent 3 years being quiet, being supportive, being small. But that version of her was gone now. The woman who remained was the woman who used to close million-dollar deals before breakfast. And she was angry. She called her old mentor, Bernard, the man who had trained her at Morgan Ridge. "I need a favor," she said. "Anything," Bernard replied. "What do you need?" "A job and a lawyer, the best one you know." 2 weeks later, Diane was back in the game. Bernard got her a position at a boutique investment firm. Nothing fancy, but enough to pay the bills and prove she wasn't finished. And the lawyer, a shark named Patricia Wells, took one look at Diane's case and smiled. "He's going to regret this," Patricia said, flipping through the documents Diane had brought. You have everything. Bank statements, business emails, even texts where he admits you were instrumental in building the firm. He can't erase you. I don't want to erase him, Diane said quietly. I want to destroy him. Patricia's smile widened. Now we're talking. Make sure you're subscribed because this revenge is just getting started. Hit that like button and drop a comment with where you're watching from. You don't want to miss what happens next. The lawsuit was filed 3 months after Kevin left. Diane Hunt versus Kevin Marshall. The claim was simple. Diane had been an unpaid partner in Kevin's business for 3 years. She had contributed financially, intellectually, and operationally. She deserved 50% of everything he owned, including the $10 million contract with Christine Sterling. Kevin laughed when he got the papers. She's delusional, he told Christine over dinner in their Singapore penthouse. She was just my assistant. She has no claim. Christine wasn't so sure. She had built her empire by reading contracts, and she knew how messy these things could get. Did you have her sign anything? A prenup? A waiver? Kevin's smile faded. We didn't need one. I handled everything. Christine's eyes narrowed. You idiot. The case went to court. Kevin flew back to the States, confident he would win. He had money now, power, connections. What did Diane have? Desperation? No, Diane had evidence. In the courtroom, Patricia laid it out piece by piece. Emails where Kevin thanked Diane for saving the Mitchell deal. Bank records showing Diane's personal savings transferred into the business account. Text messages where Kevin called her his secret weapon. Testimonies from clients who remembered Diane sitting in meetings, offering ideas, closing deals. Kevin's lawyer tried to argue that Diane had been a supportive spouse, nothing more. But Patricia had one final card to play. Your Honor, Patricia said, standing up with a folder in her hand, I'd like to submit Exhibit F, a recorded phone call from 6 months ago where Mr. Marshall explicitly tells a colleague, and I quote, Diane built this with me. I couldn't have done it without her. She's the brains, I'm just the face. The courtroom went silent. Kevin's face turned white. Where did you get that? Kevin hissed at his lawyer. Diane smiled from across the room. She had recorded the call herself during one of Kevin's late-night bragging sessions with a friend. She had forgotten about it until she started digging through old files. And now it was the smoking gun. The judge ruled in Diane's favor. 50% of Kevin's business assets, 50% of the Singapore contract, and full custody of their unborn child, with Kevin ordered to pay child support. Kevin lost everything in one afternoon. The business he thought was his, half gone. The $10 million contract, he now owed Diane $5 million. And Christine? She terminated his contract immediately. The clause about being unencumbered meant no messy lawsuits. Kevin had become a liability. He called Diane that night, his voice shaking. You ruined me. No, Diane said calmly. You ruined yourself. I just made sure you paid for it. She hung up, but the story doesn't end there. Because Diane didn't just take Kevin's money, she took his life and made it better than he ever could. With the settlement, Diane launched her own investment firm, Hunt Capital. She used her old connections, her sharp mind, and her hunger to build something real. Within a year, she had 12 clients and $5 million in managed assets. Within 2 years, she was managing $50 million. And the baby? A little girl named Grace. Diane's mother moved in to help, and together they built a life filled with love, laughter, and strength. Grace grew up watching her mother work, negotiate, win. She grew up knowing that women don't need men to save them. They save themselves. Kevin, on the other hand, spiraled. He tried to start another consulting firm, but no one wanted to work with him. Word spread about the lawsuit, about how he had abandoned his pregnant wife, about how he had lost everything because of greed. Christine blacklisted him in the industry. His reputation was shattered. He ended up working as a mid-level manager at a marketing agency, making $60,000 a year. A far cry from the $10 million he thought he had secured. 5 years after the divorce, Diane was invited to speak at a business conference in Singapore. The same city Kevin had moved to with Christine, the same city where he thought he would build his empire. Diane stood on stage in front of 500 people, telling her story. She talked about betrayal, about rising from nothing, about fighting for what you deserve. And at the end, she said something that brought the room to its feet. People will underestimate you. They'll walk away from you. They'll think you're nothing without them. But here's the truth. You were never nothing. You were always everything. And when they realize that, it'll be too late. Because you'll already be gone. You'll already be great. The applause was deafening. After the talk, Diane was in the lobby, shaking hands and taking photos, when she saw him, Kevin, standing in the back, looking older, smaller, defeated. He walked up to her slowly. Diane, I saw your name on the conference schedule. I had to come. Why? Diane asked, her voice cold. Because I need to say I'm sorry. I was wrong. I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me. Diane looked at him for a long moment, and then she smiled. Not a happy smile, a knowing smile, the smile of someone who had already won. You're right, she said. You did. And she walked away. Because Kevin didn't deserve her forgiveness. He didn't deserve her time. He didn't deserve anything from her. Hit that subscribe button if you love a good revenge story. Drop a like and comment where you're watching from. Let's build this community together. 6 months later, Diane got a call from Christine Sterling. Yes, that Christine, the woman who had stolen her husband. Ms. Hunt, Christine said over the phone, I've been following your work. Hunt Capital is impressive. Thank you, Diane said, keeping her voice neutral. I'd like to meet. I have a business proposal. Diane almost laughed. You want to work with me? I want to invest with you, Christine corrected. $50 million. I'm looking for someone smart, ruthless, and reliable. You fit the profile. Diane could have said no. She could have hung up. But instead she said, let's meet. They met at a coffee shop in Manhattan. Christine arrived in a tailored suit, all business. Diane arrived in jeans and a blazer, relaxed, confident. I'll be honest, Christine said, stirring her espresso. I made a mistake with Kevin. He wasn't what I thought he was. Weak, unreliable. I should have seen it coming. You should have, Annie, Diane agreed. Christine smiled, a real smile this time. But you're different. You're a fighter. I respect that. So you want to give me $50 million? Just like that? Not just like that, Christine said. I want a partnership. You manage the investments. I provide the capital. We split the profits 60-40 in your favor. Diane leaned back in her chair. This was the woman who had destroyed her marriage, the woman who had taken Kevin away, and now she was sitting here, offering her $50 million. Why me? Diane asked. Because you beat me, Christine said simply. You took a man I thought was valuable and proved he was worthless. You took a life I thought was over and built an empire. That's power, and I want to be on the side of power. Diane thought about it. She could say no. She could hold on to her anger, or she could take the money, build something even bigger, and prove once and for all that she didn't need Kevin. She didn't need anyone. Deal, Diane said. They shook hands. And just like that, Diane Hunt became one of the most powerful women in finance. Kevin heard about it, of course. Everyone did. The news spread fast. Former housewife turned CEO partners with Christine Sterling. The headlines were everywhere. He called Diane one last time. I can't believe you're working with her, after everything she did. She didn't do anything to me, Kevin, Diane said. You did. Christine was just a symptom. You were the disease. I still love you, Kevin said quietly. Diane laughed. Not a bitter laugh. A free laugh. No, you don't. You love what I became without you, and that's the difference. She hung up, and that was the last time they ever spoke. 10 years later, Diane stood in the penthouse office of Hunt Capital, looking out over the city. Her company managed over $1 billion in assets. She had a daughter in private school, thriving and brilliant. She had a life filled with purpose, power, and peace. And Kevin, he was still working his mid-level job, still paying child support, still telling anyone who would listen about the wife who got away. But Diane didn't think about him anymore, because revenge isn't about making someone suffer. Revenge is about becoming so successful, so happy, so free that the person who hurt you becomes irrelevant. Kevin had abandoned her when she needed him most. He had chosen money over love, power over loyalty, and in doing so he lost everything. But Diane, she gained everything, not because of him, but in spite of him. And that's the most powerful revenge of all. Grace, now 13, walked into Diane's office one evening. "Mom, I have a question." "What is it, sweetheart?" "Do you ever think about Dad? About what he did?" Diane turned from the window and smiled. "Sometimes, but not in the way you think." "What do you mean?" "I used to be angry. I used to hate him. But now I'm just grateful." Grace frowned. "Grateful? Why?" "Because he left," Diane said simply. "If he had stayed, I would have spent my whole life making him successful. I would have been his assistant, his support, his shadow. But when he left, I had to become my own light. And that's when I realized I was always enough. I didn't need him. I never did." Grace hugged her mother. "You're the strongest person I know. And you're going to be even stronger," Diane said. "Because that's what this story's really about. It's not about Kevin. It's not about revenge. It's about a woman who was knocked down, told she was nothing, and got back up to prove she was everything." Before we wrap up, make sure you hit that subscribe button one more time. Leave a like and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your support means everything, and I'll see you in the next story. The final twist came on Grace's 18th birthday. Diane threw a party at their home, a beautiful brownstone in Brooklyn. Friends, family, colleagues, everyone was there. And then the doorbell rang. Diane opened the door, and there stood Kevin, older, gray, tired. "What are you doing here?" Diane asked. "I wanted to see her," Kevin said. "Grace. She's 18 now. She's an adult." You thought maybe she'd want to see you?" Diane finished. "After 18 years of child support checks and zero effort?" "I tried," Kevin said weakly. "You made it hard." "I made it hard?" Diane's voice was sharp. "You left when she was in my stomach. You chose money over your own child. I didn't make it hard. You made it impossible." Grace appeared behind her mother. She looked at Kevin, this stranger who was supposed to be her father, and felt nothing. "Hi," Grace said simply. "Hi, Grace," Kevin said, his voice cracking. "You're so beautiful. You look just like—" "I look like my mom," Grace interrupted, "and I'm nothing like you." Kevin's face fell. "Grace, I know I made mistakes, but I'm your father." "No," Grace said. "You're the man who donated DNA. My mom is my parent. She raised me. She taught me. She showed me what strength looks like. You're just a lesson in what not to be." Kevin stood there speechless. "You should go," Diane said. And he did. He turned and walked away, just like he had 18 years ago. Except this time Diane didn't cry. She didn't hurt. She just closed the door and went back to the party. Because Kevin didn't matter anymore. He was a ghost, a footnote, a reminder of the life Diane used to have before she became unstoppable. That night after the party, Diane and Grace sat on the rooftop looking at the stars. "Do you think he'll ever be happy?" Grace asked. Diane thought about it. "Maybe, but it won't be because of anything I do or don't do. His happiness isn't my responsibility, mine is." "Do you think I'll ever forgive him?" "That's up to you," Diane said. "But forgiveness doesn't mean letting him back in. It means letting go of the anger so it doesn't poison you. Forgive him if you want, but never forget what he chose." Grace nodded. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, baby, more than anything." And in that moment, Diane realized something. She had won, not because she had money or success or power, but because she had raised a daughter who knew her worth, who wouldn't settle, who wouldn't shrink herself for anyone. That was the real victory. That was the real revenge. Kevin had walked away thinking he was getting everything, but in reality, he lost the only things that mattered: love, family, legacy. And Diane, she gained a life beyond her wildest dreams, not because she was lucky, but because she refused to stay down. So if you're watching this and you've ever been left, betrayed, abandoned, or underestimated, remember this: you are not defined by the people who walk away. You are defined by how you rise after they're gone. Kevin thought Diane would crumble. He thought she'd beg. He thought she'd fade away. But she didn't. She became a legend. And now when people ask Kevin about his biggest mistake, he has only one answer. I left Diane. And when people ask Diane about her biggest victory, she smiles and says, the day he walked out the door. Because sometimes the worst thing that happens to you is also the best thing. It's the push you needed, the fire that forged you, the pain that transformed you. Kevin gave Diane the greatest gift he ever could. He got out of her way, and she's been unstoppable ever since. One last time, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, comment where you're watching from. And remember, you don't need anyone's permission to be great. You just need to believe you already are. This is the story of Diane Hunt, the woman who lost everything and gained the world. The woman who was abandoned and became unbreakable. The woman who proved that the best revenge isn't destruction. It's success so loud, they can't ignore it. He owns nothing. She owns everything. And that's exactly how it should be. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.